Hey everyone, my name's Jonathan and welcome to Academy of Mind. Today we're going to learn about dynamic quizzes. If you haven't yet seen our in-depth video on creating and using quizzes in the LMS, then we recommend you check that out first before watching this. This video is focused on dynamic quizzes, and the video I'm going to put on the screen right now, which is also inside of the description, talks about creating and using quizzes, which covers both static and dynamic quizzes, but goes extremely in depth. Alright, so if you've seen that first video I was just talking about, then ignore what I said and let's get right into dynamic quizzes. Dynamic quizzes are perfect for offering each student a unique learning experience while taking an assessment. This is because no student is going to have the exact same set of questions while taking a dynamic quiz. The reason being is because unlike a static quiz where you assign which questions are going to be asked during a quiz, a dynamic quiz alternates the questions being used based on what's called a question category. Dynamic quizzes can help you combat cheating and sharing answers, especially if you have a question category that's very deep, meaning there's a lot of questions in that category for the system to pull from. This is going to ensure that students in the same course taking the same quiz will actually be answering totally different questions. They might have some of the same questions depending on the depth of your question category, but even those same questions will likely be in a completely different order. Finally, dynamic quizzes are helpful for challenging students who need to retake a quiz by offering them different questions on their second, third, and additional attempts to pass an assessment. Alright, so with that hefty background on dynamic quizzes, let's go ahead and create a dynamic quiz and show you how it works real quick. So for a dynamic quiz, the first thing that is required is a question category. To create one from the admin dashboard under courses and under extra, click on questions, create new question, and we're going to create a question right now, assuming you don't have any question categories already created. Alright, so first fill in the title of your question. Remember, the title is a little different than the question and content. The title is what admins will reference when they're reporting, and it's also the title of the questions when students are navigating through a quiz. So fill that out, then fill out the question and content, and this is actually how your question is going to be displayed to students while they're answering a question on a quiz. So fill this out, and next we're going to talk about the most important part, the question category. Dynamic quizzes require a question category because unlike static quizzes where you assign a specific set of questions to the quiz and in a specific order, dynamic quizzes require a question category to dynamically generate questions from. So just type out what you would like your question category to be. If you don't have one, that's okay. Just type it out and then click on it and the question category will automatically be created. We're going to keep this question type as multiple choice. So after it should default be multiple choice. And then we're going to go add the different choices and click the little bubble on whichever choice we want to be correct. This all should be a reminder to you, again, if you've watched the first in-depth video we have on creating quizzes. So, and this is a good question, if you had other questions that you wanted to add into this category that you've already created, you can go back to questions up here and you can edit each question and add them into this category. So if you had a bunch of questions from a static quiz that you wanted to also put in this category for dynamic quizzes, that's doable. All right, so before we create the dynamic quiz and test it once and for all, let's go back and create one more question. So title the question, enter the question and content, and of course choose the question category which you're using for the dynamic quiz, and you can have multiple categories. Then let's do multiple correct for this one, for the question type. Add the different choices. Define which choices are correct. And I'm not going to enter an answer hint for this one, but I am going to write an answer explanation for students. This is particularly helpful after students have completed a course if they've got some answers incorrect and they would like an explanation and some understanding as to why their answer was incorrect. Okay, now let's create the dynamic quiz. Remember, if you want to have, 5, 10, 15, 20 questions, and you haven't already created them, just repeat the process of creating questions. Remember to assign them categories when you're creating them, and create as many questions as you'd like before moving to this step. But if you have enough questions, let's go to under courses in the sidebar and click quizzes, create new quiz module. All right, so now name the quiz, enter a description for the quiz. The description is optional, but this is what's shown to students taking a quiz, so context can be very helpful. Next, the most important thing is changing the quiz type from static to dynamic. And after the quiz type is changed to dynamic, you're going to see some little changes on the screen. And now you have to choose the question category here. Remember to choose the same category you labeled all your questions as. For a number of questions, this is how many questions are going to be generated from this category. So, if there's only 11 questions in your category, it's impossible to tell the system here that you want 12 questions. Put the exact number of questions your category contains or less. And you also have the option to use multiple question categories for a dynamic quiz. If you don't know how these advanced settings work down below, then make sure to go check out the video I've put in the description if you want a visual explanation with me talking similar to this video. And if you're okay with just reading how they work, they're pretty straightforward. You can click on tutorials and support right here. Go to using quizzes and exams in a course, and then go down to number 7, and each one of these features is explained. Alrighty, that's all I got for you for dynamic quizzes. So make sure you go ahead and update the quiz, put it in one of your courses, and test that out. And as I recommended multiple times throughout this video, if you haven't yet seen the first video I did on quizzes, it's even more in-depth than this one, and it goes over static quizzes. So I'll put that video in the description. Definitely go ahead and check that out. And I hope this knowledge and what I've taught you today really helps you improve your training programs. I'll see you guys in a week. See ya.